Alright, Pheasant815 here. On our next step of reloading, we've already taken our brass. We've deprimed it. We've cleaned out at the primer pocket. We've already put a new primer in. We've resized it earlier. Opened up the cartridge mouth. Inserted gunpowder, smokeless powder to be more specific. It's all ready to go. So we have over here a bunch of our cartridges primed and loaded with charge. We've already visually inspected to make sure there's no double charges or more powder than we think, or no undercharged cartridges. Today I'm just reloading fully plated round nose. So this is a full metal jacket round nose. These are super uber cheap. These are Barry's bullets, preferred plated bullets. They are uber cheap. I get mine from Cabela's when they put them on a excellent sale, and order a whole ton. And that's how you seat them in there. That's how difficult that is. You just set them in there. If you, for some reason, put the charge in somehow with one of these other measures instead of the auto tool here, and you hadn't expanded the case mouth to make sure it was wide enough to receive the bullet, then it would kind of hit on top. Kind of like you're putting one toilet paper tube onto the other, it wouldn't fit. But when you expand it, it will accept it, and actually with just a little bit of finger push, kind of stick there. I don't want to lift it too heavy. I would hate for that to spill everywhere, but it'll fit kind of snug. I'm just going to set them over here out of my way. Now I put in another bushing with the loader die. What that's going to do is take my loaded cartridge and bullet, and as I push down, what it does is it pushes my bullet down. Now the first time you do this, you're going to want to check the overall length, the OAL, exactly, to make sure that this isn't pushed down too far, thus creating too much pressure in the cartridge, or not far enough where it would get snagged rather in your magazine and not enough pressure. So OAL on mine is 1.125. There's some variation from load to load, from bullet to bullet, especially when you use bulk bullets, but it does the job. Now this bullet isn't done yet. I'm calling it bullet. It's a little slang. It's a loaded cartridge, but practical purposes, you understand that what I'm going to shoot is the bullet out of the cartridge. There we go. So we've got 3 rounds. You can usually tell a lot about a person, their training, their experience, by how to refer to things. Do they refer to these as bullets? Do they refer to them as cartridges? Do they refer to them as rounds? Do you fire them out of a weapon, a gun, a firearm, a boomstick? You can tell a lot about a guy by how he refers to his tools. That being said, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got my 6th round, if you would. And you're going to want to check these. I'm doing 6 here, so I feel pretty comfortable with them. However, if you're loading 50 rounds, 100 rounds, 200 rounds, or more, you're going to want to check the overall length every so often, just to make sure. Every 10 is what I do. It's always safer to do it more often. I just don't know that it's necessary to do it that often or more. Here's your 6. Anyway, they're not done yet. Now, I have tested, under the recommendation of some, to go ahead and fire these rounds off like they stand now. Bullet inserted, no crimp, because they are in fact straight wall cartridges, and 9mm, 9x19 parabellum, or the 9x19 is also known as the Luger round, and they do fine. I feel, from what I've experienced, that they're more accurate when you put the final crimp on. And if you're going to load multiple rounds into your magazine and store them, load multiple rounds in your magazine where the vibration is for more rounds, or you're going to store them for long periods of time, you're going to want to put a crimp. What that's going to do, you've already seated the bullet into the cartridge, but remember you opened up the top of the cartridge. This final crimp is just going to push this wall straight again. So you straightened it to start with, you opened it, inserted the bullet, and now I just crimped it smooth. So when I look at these 2 bullets, again, it's hard to see with the naked eye. I don't know how awful it must be to try to see this on the video, but this is a little bit of bulge, and this one doesn't. In fact, I'm not 100% sure which one's which anymore, so I'll tell you what, I'm just going to put this one back in there, and then I'm going to do this one too. Yeah, that was the one that was done before, I'm pretty sure now. Anyway, so they've been deprimed, resized, cleaned out pocket primer, or new primer put in. They've been expanded up top, powder charge added, bullet added, and loaded down. And now the final crimp. So these rounds are done. Almost. I'm going to do these other rounds real quick. This is how easy it is. You get a routine going, and you can knock these out super uber quick. I find this to be very relaxing. Not as satisfying as, of course, shooting them off at the range, but there's something pretty cool about knowing the rounds that you're firing are the rounds that you loaded. I made these. I reloaded these. I will fire these. They will eventually come back to my house, and I will load in one of these containers after I've cleaned them, where I mark how many times I've loaded and fired them. I said almost the last step because there's one other thing to do. Just for my own edification, my own safety, I want to know how many times I've fired this round. So what I do is I mark it. Let me grab it and show you how I do it. Now I've heard it said you can reload these up to 5 times safely. I've heard that, and I've read it in gun magazines. I can't tell you offhand if it was Guns and Ammo or which magazine it was. Doesn't rightly matter to me. It was published. So my first time reloading range brass, or for the first time of brass that I fired just once, and I keep them separate, is because I know the history of my brass. I'll go ahead and the first time I reload it, I'll put a green mark across, not just on the primer, because when that gets struck by my Glock, it kind of bends in, but across the whole thing, just a green line. These are actually first time, so they will get a green line across them. I don't hold them like this because that would take forever, but I seat them in an old box where I shot 9mm already, and I go ahead and I load them in there and I draw the line right across all 50 of them. But there's what that looks like. So I can see. This also enables me when I pick up my brass at the range, I know, this is my brass. There is much brass on the ground, but this is my brass. I have shot it 1 time. So this is range brass. It's been shot 1 or more times. And now that I've picked it up, it's been shot 2 or more times, and it will go in the 2 or more fired container back home. If it is not the first time, I will not mark it with the green mark like this, like I'm doing with this one, but rather I will take my red Sharpie and mark it with a red line. So 1 or more times, green, 2 or more times, red, 3 or more times, black line, 4 or more times, I put a black X on it. And honestly, with as much brass as I find at the range, and the brass that I have bought and fired myself, and I know exactly how many times it's been fired, I don't load it that 4th time. I keep it, bring it home. I've scrubbed up a couple 100 rounds, ready to reload if I ever want to. But honestly, I keep it, and maybe one day I'll bring it to the recycling plant and have it turned into something more valuable. But I just don't see the need to knowingly shoot a cartridge more times than you need to when you've got so many empty cartridges ready to go. But there it is, start to finish. This is Pheasant815 showing you how to make a 9mm parabellum bullet using a Lee press. I believe it's a Challenger press, so I'll try to annotate that for you guys. Single stage press. Once you get proficient with it and you don't have a video camera monitoring your steps, you can go pretty darn quick. Any given time when I sit down, I used to only make 25 rounds at a time when I was getting started. I advocate when you start, do very few rounds at a time. Once you get more proficient, jump up. I now do no less than 100 rounds at a time. I'm just too quick at it to not do that much. And I do it in steps. You don't really need to put all the primers in just before you do it. I can load the primers up on a Monday night. Then on a Tuesday night I can go ahead and put all the powder charges in, all the bullets in, and I'll seat the bullets. That's when you load it down. And then when they're in this position loaded, I'm fine with it, and then maybe I'll sit, and on Wednesday I'll come back and I'll put that final crimp in on all of them, and then mark them and put them in the boxes to be stored. Well, this is Pheasant815 saying I hope that you found this entertaining and educational. Have a wonderful day. Be safe, be smart.